Hi guys, this is video 1 for the week of October 26th at home / asynchronous learning. We are going to be on your solo. I'm going to present to you how to get there real quick, just in case you don't know how. All right, so we're going to go to the main page. When you log in, this is what you're going to see. And then we're going to go to 7B, character and conflict. Subunit 2, a Raisin in the Sun. And we're going to be on lesson 14, which is entitled Idealist or Realist. In class, we did all of these tabs, including the exit ticket, which is due Friday, October 30th. Okay. We are going to do the solo, which is due November 3rd, which would be that Tuesday, election day. Okay, I'm going to read to you the rest of what you need to know from this so that you can do this whole solo. I'm going to start a little before what this reading is. And then I'll make sure that you know when I'm starting on what's the matter with you. Okay, so here we go. Walter enters from the outside looking spent and leaning against the door, his coat hanging from him. Mama says, "Where you been, son?" Walter, breathing hard, "Made a call." Mama says, "To who, son?" "To the man," Walter says. He heads for his room. "What man, baby?" He stops. "The man, Mama. Don't you know who the man is?" Bruce says, "Walter Lee." "The man," Walter Lee says. "Like the guys in the streets say, the man, Captain, Boss, Mr. Charlie, old Captain. Please, Mr. Boss, man." Beneatha says, "Linda." Walter says, "That's right. That's good. I told him to come right over." Beneatha fiercely, "For what? What do you want to see him for?" Walter looks at his sister. "We're going to do business with him." Mama says, "What you talking about, son?" "Talking about life, Mama. You always telling me to see life like it is. Well, I laid in there on my back today and I figured it out. Life just like it is. Who gets and who just don't." He sits down with the coat on and laughs. "Mama, you know it's all divided up. Life is, sure enough, between the takers and the tooken," he laughs. "I figured it out finally." He looks around. "Yeah, some of us always getting tooken," he laughs. "People like Willie Harris, they don't ever get tooken. And you know why the rest of us do? Because we all mixed up bad. We get to looking around for the right and the wrong, and we worry about it and cry about it and stay up nights trying to figure out about the wrong and the right of things all the time. And all the time, man, them takers is out there operating just taking and taking. Willie Harris, shoot, Willie Harris don't even count. He don't even count in the big scheme of things. But I'll say one thing for old Willie Harris. He taught me something. He's taught me to keep my eye on what counts in this world." Yep, shouting out, "Thanks, Willie." Bruce says, "What did you call that man for, Walter Lee?" "Called him to tell him to come on over to the show. Gonna put on a show for the man, just what he wants to see. You see, Mama, the man came here today, and he told us that them people out there where you want us to move, well, they so upset they're willing to pay us not to move." He laughs. "And I know, Mama, you would have been proud of the way me and Ruth and Benny acted. We told him to get out. Lord have mercy. We told the man to get out. Oh, we were some proud folks this afternoon, yeah." He lights a cigarette. "We were still full of that old time stuff." Ruth comes toward him. "You talking about taking them people's money to keep us from moving in that house?" Walter says, "I ain't just talking about it, baby. I'm telling you that's what's going to happen." Beneatha says, "Oh, God, where's the bottom? Where's the real honest-to-God bottom so he can't go any further?" Walter says, "See, that's old stuff. You and that boy that's here today, you all want everybody to carry a flag and a spear and sing some marching songs, huh? You want to spend your life looking into things and trying to find the right and the wrong part, huh? Yeah, you know what's going to happen to that boy someday. He'll find himself sitting in a dungeon locked in forever, and the takers will have the key. Forget it, baby. There ain't no causes. There ain't nothing but taking in the world, and he who takes most is smartest. And it didn't make a damn bit of difference how." You making something inside me cry, son. Something awful pain inside me, Mama says. Oh, don't cry, Walter says. Understand, that white man is going to walk in that door able to write checks for more money than we ever had. It's important to him, and I'm going to help him. I'm going to put on the show, Mama. Son, Mama says, I come from 5 generations of people who were slaves and sharecroppers, but ain't nobody in it. My family never let nobody pay him no money. That was a way of telling us, we wasn't fit to walk the earth. We ain't never been that poor, raising her eyes and looking at him. We ain't never been that dead inside. Well, we're dead now, Benita said. All the talk about dreams and sunlight that goes on in this house, it's all dead. Walter says, what's the matter with you all? I didn't make this world. It was given to me this way. Hell yes, I want me some yacht someday. Yes, I want to hang some real pearls around my wife's neck. Ain't she supposed to wear no pearls? Somebody tell me. Tell me who decides which woman is supposed to wear pearls in this world. I tell you, I'm a man, and I think my wife should wear some pearls in the world. This last line hangs a good while, and Walter begins to move about the room. The word man has penetrated his consciousness. He mumbles it to himself repeatedly between strange, agitated pauses as he moves. Mama says, baby, how are you going to feel on the inside? Fine. Walter says, he's going to feel fine. A man. You won't have nothing left then, Walter Lee, Mama said. Walter comes to her and says, I'm going to feel fine, Mama. I'm going to look at that son of a gun in the eyes and say, all right, Mr. Lindner, he falters. That's your neighborhood out there. You got the right to keep it like you want. You got the right to have it like you want. Just write the check and the house is yours. And I'm going to say, his voice almost breaks, and you people just put the money in my hand and you won't have to live next to this bunch of stinking N-words. He straightens up and moves away from his mother, walking around the room. And maybe I'll just get down on my black knees. He does. Ruth and Benny and Mama watch him in frozen horror. Captain Mister, boss man, groveling and grinning and wringing his hands in profoundly anguished imitation of the slow-witted movie stereotype. Ah, he. Oh, yeah, boss. Yeah, sir. Great white. Voice breaking. He forces himself. Father, just get us in the money, to God's sake, and we ain't going to come out there and dirty up your white folks' neighborhood. He breaks down completely, and I'll feel fine. Fine. He gets up and goes into the bedroom. That is not a man, Benita says. That is nothing but a toothless rat. Mama says, yes, death done come in this here house. She's nodding slowly. Done come walking in my house on the lips of my children. You what's supposed to be my beginning again. You what's supposed to be my harvest. To Benita, you mourning your brother? Benita says, he's no brother of mine. What you say? Mama says. I said, that individual in that room is no brother of mine. That's what I thought you said, Mama said. You feeling like you're better than he is? Benita doesn't answer. Yeah? What'd you tell him a minute ago? That he wasn't a man? Yeah? You give him up for me? You done wrote his epitaph too? Like the rest of the world? Well, who give you the privilege? Be on my side for once, Benita says. You saw what he just did, Mama. You saw him down on his knees. Wasn't it you who taught me to despise any man who would do that? Do what he's going to do? Yes. He says, I taught you that. Me and your daddy. But I thought I taught you something else. I thought I taught you to love him. Love him? There's nothing left to love, Benita says. There is always something left to love. And if you ain't learned that, you ain't learned nothing. Have you cried for that boy today? I don't mean for yourself and the family because you lost the money. I mean for him and what he's been through and what it's done to him. Child, when do you think is the time to love somebody the most? When they've done good and made things easy for everybody? Well, then you ain't through learning because that ain't the time at all. It's when he's at his lowest and can't believe in himself because the world done whipped him so. When you start measuring somebody, measure him right, child. Measure him right. Make sure you done taking his into account what hills and valleys he come through because he got to wherever he is. Travis burst in the room at the end of the speech, leaving the door open. Travis says, Grandma, the moving men are downstairs. The truck just pulled up. Mama turns to him. Are they, baby? They downstairs? She sighs and sits. Lindner appears in the doorway. He peers in and knocks slightly to gain attention and comes in. All turn to look at him. Lindner, hat and briefcase in hand, says, hello. Ruth crosses mechanically to the bedroom door and opens it and lets it swing open and freely, slowly as the lights come up on Walter. Still in his coat, sitting at the far corner of the room, he looks up and out through the room to Lindner. He's here, Ruth said. A long minute passes and Walter slowly gets up. Lindner comes to the table with efficiency, putting his briefcase on the table and starting to unfold papers and unscrew fountain pens. Well, I certainly was glad to hear from you people. Walter's begun the trek out of the room, slowly and awkwardly, rather like a small boy passing the back of his sleeve across his mouth for some time. Life can really be so simple, so much simpler when people let it be most of the time. Well, with whom do I negotiate? You, Miss Younger, or your son here? Mama sits with her hands folded on her lap and her eyes closed as Walter advances. Travis gets closer to Lindner and looks at the paper curiously. Just some official papers, Sonny. Ruth says, Travis, you go downstairs. Mama opens her eyes and looks into Walter's. No, Travis, you stay here. And you make him understand what you doing, Walter Lee. You teach him good like Willie Harris taught you. You show where our 5 generation stumps come to. Walter looks from her to the boy, who grins at him innocently. Go ahead, son. She folds her hands and closes her eyes. Go ahead. Walter at last crosses to Lindner, who's reviewing the contract. Well, Mr. Lindner, Benita turns away. We called you. There's a profound, simple, groping quality in his speech because, well, me and my family, he looks around and shifts from one foot to the other. Well, we're very plain people. Yes, Mr. Lindner says. I mean, Walter says, I've worked as a chauffeur most of my life, and my wife here, she does domestic work in people's kitchens. She does so does my mother. I mean, we're plain people. Yes, Mr. Younger, Lindner says. Walter, really like a small boy, looking down at his shoes and then up at the man. And my father, well, he was a laborer most of his life. Lindner absolutely is confused. Yeah, I understand. He turns back to the contract. Walter takes a beat and stares at him. And my father, with sudden intensity, my father almost beat a man to death once because this man called him a bad name or something. You know what I mean? Lindner looks up. No, I'm afraid I don't. Walter, the tension hangs. When Walter steps back from it, he says, yeah, well, what I mean is that we come from people who had a lot of pride. I mean, we're very proud people, and that's my sister over there, and she's going to be a doctor, and we are very proud. Well, I'm sure that's very nice, but Mr. Lindner says, what I'm telling you is that we called you over here to tell you that we are very proud and that this, signaling to Travis, Travis, come here. Travis crosses and Walter draws him before him facing the man. This is my son, and he makes the 6th generation of our family in this country, and we have all thought about your offer. Well, good, Mr. Lindner says. And we have decided to move into our house because my father, he earned it for us, brick by brick. Mama has her eyes closed and is rocking back and forth as though she were in church with her head nodding the amen, yes. We don't want to make no trouble for nobody or fight no causes, and we will try to be good neighbors. And that's all we got to say about that. He looks the man absolutely in the eyes. We don't want your money. He turns and walks away. Benita says, or Lindner says, I take it then that you have decided to occupy. Benita says, that's what the man said. Lindner says, then I would like to appeal to you, Mrs. Younger. You're older and wiser and understand things better, I am sure. Mama says, I'm afraid you don't understand. My son said we was going to move, and there ain't nothing left for me to say. You know how these young folks is nowadays, mister? Can't do a thing with them. As he opens his mouth, she rises and says, goodbye. Lindner folds up his materials. Well, if you're at that final about it, there's nothing left to say for me to say. He finishes, almost ignored by the family who are concentrating on Walter Lee. At the door, Lindner halts and looks around. I sure hope you people know what you're getting into. He shakes his head and exits. Ruth looks around and comes to life. Well, for God's sake, if the moving men are here, let's get the hell out of here. Mama, into action. Ain't it the truth? Look at all this here mess. Ruth, put Travis's good jacket on him. Walter Lee, fix your tie and tuck your shirt in. You look like somebody's hoodlum. Lord have mercy, where is my plant? She flies to get it amid the general bustling of the family who are deliberately trying to ignore the nobility of the past moment. Y'all start on down. Travis, child, don't go empty-handed. Ruth, where did I put that box with my skillet in it? I want to be in charge of it myself. I'm going to make us the biggest dinner we ever ate tonight. Benita, what's the matter with them stockings? Pull them up, girl. The family starts to file out as two moving men appear and begin to carry out the heavier pieces of furniture, bumping into the family as they move about. Benita says, Mama, Asagai asked me to marry him today and go to Africa. Mama, in the middle of her getting ready, says, he did? You ain't old enough to marry nobody. Seeing the moving men lifting one of her chairs precariously, says, darling, that ain't no Bella Compton. Please handle it so we can sit in it again. I had that chair 25 years. The movers sigh with exasperation and go on with their work. Benita, girlishly and unreasonably trying to pursue the conversation, says, to go to Africa, Mama, be a doctor in Africa. Mom is distracted and says, yes, baby. Walter says, Africa? What do you want you to go to Africa for? To practice there, Benita says. Girl, if you don't get all them silly ideas out your head, you better marry yourself a man with some root. Benita angrily, precisely as in the first scene. What have you got to do with who I marry? Plenty, Mom, Walter says. Now, I think George Murchison, Benita says. George Murchison, I wouldn't marry him if he was Adam and I was Eve. Walter and Benita go out yelling at each other vigorously, and the anger is loud and real till their voices diminish. Ruth stands at the door and turns to Mama and smiles. Mama fixes her hat at last. Yep, there's something all right, my children. Ruth says, yeah, there's something. Let's go, Lena. Mama stalls, starting to look around. Yeah, I'm coming, Ruth. Ruth says, yes. Mama quietly, woman to woman. He finally come into his manhood today, didn't he? Kind of like a rainbow after the rain. Ruth bites her lip, lest her own pride explode. Yes, Lena. Walter's voice calls for them raucously. Y'all coming? These people charge by the hour, you know. Mama waves Ruth out. All right, honey, go on down. I'll be down directly. Ruth hesitates, then exits. Mama stands at last, alone in the living room, her plant on the table before her as the light starts to come down. She looks around at all the walls and ceilings, and suddenly, despite herself while the children call below, a great heaving thing rises in her, and she puts her fists to her mouth to stifle it, takes a final desperate look, pulls her coat about her, pats her hat, and goes out. The light dims down. The door opens, and she comes back in, grabs her plant, and goes out for the last time. All right. That is the end of the play. A couple of things that I want to say is Walter learned something in this scene. He definitely thinks about what he's doing and what his morals are, what's important to he and his family, and how he wants Travis to be brought up. That's kind of part of the reason why he thinks about it and doesn't take the money from Mr. Lindner. So number one says, what does Walter want most for Ruth in paragraph 109? If you do this right here, you can see 109 is right there, okay? And it goes down and it says, I want to hang some real pearls around my wife's neck. So letter A, he wants her to have a yacht. Letter B says he wants her to agree that being rich is important. Letter C says he wants her to wear pearls. Or letter D says he wants her to see him as a man. And then click next. Number 2 says, how do Ruth, Mama, and Benita react to Walter's behavior? Drag 2 words that best describe their reactions in the box. Horrified, confused, supportive, embarrassed, inspired. Okay, there are 2 words that would describe when Walter is going off and saying what he's going to do and how he's going to take the money and getting down on his knees and acting sort of like the stereotype that of that black man back in the 50s. That was not a very nice stereotype. Uneducated, submissive person. And so they're watching him act this way. And so there are 2 words that you can drag and drop to how that would describe their reaction to his actions. Number 3 says, why does Mama suggest that Travis stay in the room with the family when Mr. Lindner arrives? A, she thinks the streets are dangerous. B, she thinks it's important for Travis to see how his father handles the decision. C, she thinks she should step in as a parent because Ruth is too tough. D, she thinks it's important for Travis to see what Mr. Lindner has to offer the family. So remember when I just said, why does Walter change his mind? So there it is. Next one. That was number 3. Now we're going to go to number 4. At the end of Mr. Linder's visit, Walter's final decision is to, and here it is, agree not to move into another house, move into the house Mama bought, or accept Mr. Linder's offer. And then click next. What are the plans Benita is considering for her future? Drag 3 choices into the box. Becoming a top doctor, living on a yacht, marrying George Murchison, marrying Joseph Assagai, or practicing medicine in Africa. There are 3 of them. Click 3, and then click next. Sorry. And then on card 8 is number 6. In paragraph 173, Mama says he finally come into his manhood, didn't he? Kind of like a rainbow after the rain. What does she mean? Describe Walter's journey and how it relates to a rainbow after the rain. So all of the bad things would be connotated like with the symbol of the rain. Rain is going to be negative here. It's not always negative, but here it is. And then at the very end, the sun starts coming out and the rainbow comes out. You know that that rain is about to end. So how is his growth, his attitude towards life, going through dark and then finally landing in a positive thing? That's what that means. So again, how is his attitude towards life going from a very dark kind of outlook and pessimistic to almost like an idealist and standing up and being moral? How is that different? Okay. So, and then when you finish that, that's only got to be a couple sentences, but you have to use race, restate, answer, cite evidence, and explain. Make sure that you hand that in. Again, this one is due November 3rd, and I hope that this has definitely helped you and what you needed to do at home. If there are any questions, please make sure that you use Schoology to email me or use talking points so that you can text me. I get either one of them on my phone, and I usually answer within a couple of hours. Okay, see you in class.